Yeah, yeah. So first, thank you so much for rocking with me and vibing with me on this new project. Essentially, Panic and Patience is something that I was thinking about for a while, you know, as it relates to making a change in our community. I feel like a lot of creators, business owners, entrepreneurs, educators, you know, movers and shakers in society always are dancing on this line between panic and patience. And what I mean by panic, not so much in the literal sense, but in the sense of urgency. Like there's always there's that project or there's that policy or there's that thing that they want to get done. Like, and it's in their spirit, it's in their being to get it done, but also understanding that anything great takes time. And that time is patience. And so we're constantly in conflict between, you know, I want to put this thing out or I want to start this movement to, well, how do I do it in a way that's actually going to make an impact? And that's not something that happens overnight, right? And so as a creator, as a community leader, well, I see you as a community leader, particularly in the art space. You know, I wanted to have a conversation with you in terms of how have you position yourself to be a change agent? How have you positioned yourself in your craft, in your lane, to actually make an impact in your community? And why use that vehicle as a way to do so? The vehicle meaning art, you know, your creativity, your tenacity to tell stories and to, you know, uplift the voices of your community and the people that you've grown up around. And so that's really why I wanted to talk to you today and just rock out. And usually how I start a lot of my conversations, well, I use it as like an icebreaker because it really, I think, lends itself to getting to know someone on an intimate level, is for them to tell me a story. And the story could be about anything. It could be funny, it could be from your childhood, it could be from last week. But if I was to say, Paloma, tell me a story, what would you tell me?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show, Jay. You know, I got mad love for you. And you know, honestly, I appreciate you so much. And you're an inspiration for all the work that you do in our community. And, you know, I love that we've been friends since that film class in Emerson, you know?
Yeah. What was that? I think that was like 2007 or 2008, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and it was the one where we watched movies the whole time.
Yes, yes.
So I appreciate it so much, and your kind words of encouragement have always meant a lot to me. The story that I have in my head is one of my favorite stories. And you think I feel like, you know, when I thought about a story, I was like, I should have all the stories. Like, this is what I do for a living, is tell stories. But no, when it comes to, like, I feel like when I'm writing, I process my life stories and I filter them through fictitious characters. And so I feel like that's the way I process my own stories. But I'm going to tell a true story that is not about me. Usually pop out, it's easier. But I love the story of my parents and how they met. So it was in the 80s. I'm not circa whatever, you know, circa 1983, I want to say, circa 1984. My dad is from the Dominican Republic. He's from a small town called Las Matas de Farfán. And he was, I want to say, 27 years old. I want to say 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 6, 27. Yeah, my dad was 27 years old and he was studying in an agricultural university in La Vega. And he was offered the opportunity to do a student exchange program in Wisconsin, of all places. And it was for the agricultural program. So other students, you know, farming students, agricultural students, went with him to Wisconsin. And it was only for like a month, from what I understand. My mom was born in Illinois. She was raised in Malaysia because my grandfather was working in the Peace Corps. And I think towards either junior high or high school, my grandparents divorced and my mom is the youngest. And so she moved to Wisconsin with my grandmother, and that's where they lived for some time. My mom went to high school in Superior, Wisconsin, and she went on to Madison, the school in Madison. I think it's the University of Wisconsin. And wow, I'm getting this wrong already. But anyways, whatever, the University of Madison, Wisconsin. And my mom was studying there, and my dad was coming from the Dominican Republic. So these two people that had no real connection. I think my mom was good with languages, but she didn't speak Spanish. And my dad didn't speak English. He was only in the program for a month. So my mom at the time was working at this Chinese restaurant as a waitress. And my dad and his friends were kind of getting a little bit tired of the food, the lunch food. You know, lunch in the United States is like sandwiches and chips, things that are not like, you know, lunch in the Dominican Republic, food at 12 o'clock in the afternoon for lunch is rice and beans and meat. So I think that in order for them to find a little bit of home all the way in Wisconsin, Chinese food is the most similar in terms of the white rice. You have the meat, you don't have the beans, but you have like, you know, more of a real, you know, a real lunch, just, yeah, a real lunch. And so my dad went to the Chinese restaurant with friends, and it became like a daily thing. They'd go to the Chinese restaurant to have their lunch, their rice lunch. And my dad saw my mom, and I guess he liked what he saw. And I think, I'm not sure if it was like on a check or in person. Again, they tell this story much better. But I think either on the check or something, my dad asked my mom for her number.
Oh, and so you started shot on a receipt.
Oh, I did something like that. I might have gotten that wrong. I'm going to fact check when I finish this, and you can add little notes in case I call you back and tell you that anything's different. One or the other. Either it was in person, like he said to her, you know, oh, I would love your number or something like that, or he wrote it on the check. All I know is my mom, I think my mom would write thank you so much in Spanish on the check, but she was just trying to get tips. She wasn't like feeling him like that, but he was like, I think he thought that was like, oh, maybe she likes me or something like that. Like, look at her nice little notes that she leaves on the check. Anyway, so either on the check or in person, he asked for her number. And she says, if you want my number, you can find it in the phone book, because she was trying to shut it down. She was like, no, okay. You know, I don't know. My mom is pretty sassy. And so I could just see how she was. Like, I'm sure that's not her spiel. Like, I don't think, like, flirting and giving out numbers and all that stuff. So funnily enough, my dad did look in the phone book. He looked in the phone book for her number. He found her number. She was living, she had a roommate. She was living in an apartment with a roommate. I think he like spoke to the roommate, and the roommate said to my mom, like, this guy called, you know, he seems really nice. Like, you should call him back or whatever. And then that's it. And then they had a wonderful month together in Wisconsin. They fell in love. My dad had to go back to Dominican Republic. He went to Dominican Republic and was sending her postcards. He still has the postcards. Like, he has them in albums, so you can read his little notes to her. He sent her letters saying all the places that he wants to show her when she comes to visit. She went to go visit, and instead of staying the month or whatever that she was planning to stay, or the couple weeks, she stayed for 2 years. They got married, and they had my brother.
Wow. That's dope. That's dope. So he put in work.
Put in work. And yeah, and you know, as should be. Yeah. You know, my mom is a special lady. He's a special guy, and they found each other. And I just love that story because there's so many components to it that could have gone the other way. And here they are today. They've been married. Again, this is going to be wrong. And for God's sakes, they've been married for, I want to say 35 years, 35 years. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, they've been married for 35 years, happily married. And they're one of my favorite couples of all time.
No, that's dope. That's dope. And so, having that experience or watching that growing up, watching your parents love on each other the way they do, stick with each other, particularly being from essentially two different worlds, you know, one being from DR, one being from America / Malaysia, you know what I mean? Having those experiences from a cultural standpoint is unique in terms of like how they connected. How did that influence you in any way? Was it a challenge with the identity, being, having those two lived experiences from your parents, or was it helpful? Was it, advantages, disadvantages? What was it like for you having those two relationships blend to create you and your brother?
Yeah, I for sure. I think I believe, and I'm only speaking for myself, although I've heard from my brother that he also had his own experiences as being biracial, because I think it's pretty typical, especially my age. I think that although now I know so many people who are biracial, I think that I feel like growing up I felt like the only one. So I feel like when I was in kindergarten and like first grade, I was living in Medford with my family, and I definitely felt like the odd one. I didn't feel like there, it was a mostly white environment. So I felt odd, and I didn't know where I was placed. And I had no concept. I had no concept of like being a person of color or what that meant at all. I mean, but I just knew that I always felt different. I always felt like, kind of odd, ugly duckling in most of the situations that I was in. And, I felt that way up until middle school, and basically entering high school. I think that, you get a little bit older and you start to understand the different parts of you. But when you're older and you're understanding there are different things about you, instead of embracing them, you try to find a quick answer, or you try to please everybody by being whatever they think you are. And yet no one can place you, because my father's Afro-Dominicano, he's Dominican, English is the second language, and my mom is white American Jewish. I have Jewish background, I have background in Hungary. I mean, all of these different components to me, I feel like it was too complicated for people, and like I wasn't placed really anywhere. I wasn't white, but I wasn't black. I wasn't even Latina enough because I didn't speak Spanish, and my mom was white. So it's like, where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do? And I think that, I don't think my parents like necessarily, made an intentional education of like, oh, by the way, you're going to experience the world as a woman of color. You're going to experience these things because you're biracial. Get ready. Here we go. There was none of that. And I don't think they would be equipped to do that, because neither of them are biracial. So, I think that that's like the typical journey. It just is the typical journey I think mostly, and everyone's different. But for the most part, the baseline is you go on this journey for identity until finally you get to a point where you're like, wait, this is my identity. Like, I don't need to like pick something out that works for me. Like, this is me. Like, if you don't get it, it's not my problem anymore. Whereas it was like my biggest problem in high school is like, how do you see me? What do I look like to you? What do you think I am? Oh, I don't speak Spanish. Am I Dominican enough? Am I, and so I think just little by little, even not making it so like, oh, this is specifically what I'm going to do in my adult life, is like try to find the pieces of me, but you find the pieces of yourself as you go. Mm-hmm. And, I moved to the Dominican Republic basically because I wanted to get closer with my roots and my family. And, along the way, I became fluent in Spanish. Santo Domingo feels like a second home to me. So being Dominican felt like something that I had embraced and discovered as such a big part of me, that only until I was like 19 did I realize how much of this culture like is me, is part of my personality, is part of so many components to my history, to my race, my blood. And so
but it felt like it was over there anymore. Like, I'm exactly. Here and DR is over there. It's more, this is me. We're one.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't feel like DR was this. I feel like even after living in DR for 5 years, I still, and this is why I have my production company is called La Gringa Loca. It's a joke in a sense, because I feel like I was trying so hard to make sure people didn't think that I was gringa, because I'm not gringa, I am Dominican and all of these things. But only until I went to DR did I realize that I don't, it doesn't even matter what your skin color is. It doesn't necessarily matter, who your parents are. If you were born in the United States, to Dominicans, you are a gringo. And so, you know, they have an idea of what Dominican Americans are. You know, they come to DR to go to a resort or whatever it is for the summertime. They come to visit their families in the neighborhoods that their families are from. And then after the 2 weeks are up in the summertime, they go back to their, you know, New York or Boston or any other city in the country or any other place in the country. And they go on to, you know, live their distinct Dominican American lives. And so I realized, like, I am so proud to be Dominican. It's like the thing, I'm like, I feel like it's so dope. I love being Dominican. I love my family. I love being my father's daughter. But I also recognize that my experience is as not only of a Dominican American, but a biracial Dominican American. And that's my experience. And to me, I feel like I embrace it. Like I embrace it. I embrace it when I pronounce something kind of incorrectly in Spanish. Like, I'm gonna go with the flow. This is my accent. This is how I speak when I speak Spanish, because I wasn't born and raised in Santo Domingo. I was born and raised here in Boston, and I'm a Bostonian, and I'm a Dominican American, and I'm Jewish American, and I'm biracial, and all of those things about me. Like that, you know, if you want to get to know me, you got to understand that I'm all of those things. Like I feel like I don't need to pick and choose anymore. So I kind of feel like I got to the point where I just am myself.
Right. Now,
like,
that's the goal. But I think that's where a lot of people are in search of, you know, to be able to feel comfortable to say, I am not just one thing, I am a culmination of things based upon how I dress, how I walk, how I talk, what I'm into, the music, the food, the like all of those things are a part of, you know, our makeup. And I think that's dope. So I want to get a little bit into your creative journey. You know, you went to Emerson, graduated from Emerson with a film degree. What did you actually graduate Emerson with?
I was in the film department. My major was writing for film and television specifically, but it was in the film department. So I just got a Bachelor of Arts just in film, I believe.
So,
am I supposed to know that?
Well, I mean, because I think it also informs kind of your trajectory on where you went from there. Like you graduated, I think, a little bit after I did. I graduated in 08. I think you graduated 09, 2010, something like that.
Yeah, I was 09.
09, right? And then you pretty soon after went to DR and kind of really sharpened your skills in terms of your creative aspect from a writing and producing standpoint. What was it about DR where you felt like you really earned your chops to the point where you came back and you really hit the ground running? You started, you know, you had the production company, you were starting to film things. Me and you worked together, you know, on a film, I think right around where you were either about to go to DR or just arrived. And so that was a very, you know, defining time or season in your life where you really wanted to sort of embrace your lived experiences and this itch that you had for creativity. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know, I feel like definitely during my college years, I started trying to figure out how I could take it upon myself to try to improve my Spanish. And I think that, like, little by little, maybe I was getting a little bit more knowledgeable, but it was never getting to the point where I was able to have full-on conversations. It was never to the point where I feel like I could understand. I feel like I was just not even close to being fluent. So, you know, I feel like I would listen to a lot of music in Spanish and translate songs. And I really started getting into films, international films, Spanish language films. You know, I fell in love with Pedro Almodovar. I fell in love with you know, the work that Iñárritu was doing before. I mean, I love his work now as well, but he was doing Spanish-speaking films in Mexico before. And I just really was, like, totally enamored by the Spanish-speaking films in general. And so I don't know, I feel like when I started kind of like writing my screenplays, even at Emerson, I was writing screenplays that were based in the Dominican Republic. I have this screenplay that was a short, and then I tried to turn it into a feature, and it's still in the development. Like, it's one of those scripts that like I wrote in 2008 and haven't looked at again. But I feel like I know that I still want to look at it. But basically, it's a true story, love story, based on the a moment in the life of my aunt Minerva. And from there, I just started kind of like having this dream, and that I still have to this day. So even now, I'm 32 years old, and at the time when I started writing this script or started thinking about creating films in DR, you know, I was maybe 20, 19 years old. So I, you know, really thought about creating a movie in DR. And to this day, I still want to produce and direct a movie in DR. It was something I kind of wanted to do this year, but it's hopefully, God willing, it will happen in the future. But we all know why this year really doesn't count as a year to producing things. But yeah, so I feel like, you know, that was sort of the dream that was sprinkling in. And then when I graduated from Emerson, I said to myself, you know what, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't speak the language very well at this point, but I want to go to DR. I want to see if I can, you know, be a part of the film industry there. And at the time, the film industry was very small, up and coming. It's a huge booming industry right now. Mm-hmm. And you know, I feel like there are a lot of life decisions that I made that were probably against people's advice. Like, why would you go to DR? You're in LA right now, stay in LA. That's where it's popping. Like, let's get the ball rolling. Like, let's not waste time. But you know, that they ended up being decisions that were actually, in terms of my career, fruitful, but also fun. And they were experiences that I would never take back, not for the life of me. Like, moving to DR was one of the best decisions I've ever made in terms of my growth and the friends that I've made, and just, I guess, I feel like just kind of connecting with who I am and getting to that point, like I said, where I could just feel like I'm just going to be myself. I feel like all of that came from those years living in DR. And I started working as a second assistant director on this television series that was filmed in the studio Quita Sueño, which is like, at the time, was the only film studio in the Dominican Republic, in the town of Jaina. I worked there for like 4 months. After that, I started getting gigs, like basically editing people's scripts. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, to make money, I was, to sustain my income, although I really did enjoy it, I was a theater teacher at this bilingual school. And, you know, during that time, again, I was making friends in the film industry. I mean, some of my friends that were just production assistants that first year that I was in DR in 2009 have gone on to write and direct 3 feature films that were in the movie theaters in DR, or that are available now on Netflix or wherever it might be. And mm-hmm. So I feel like we were all kind of growing in this together. So now it's like this family, we all know each other.
So I was like an incubator period for a lot of you, huh?
Yeah, that's how I feel. And it's interesting how we've all done what we've all done. I mean, there are friends that I made. I mean, one of my best friends in DR, Ivan Aybar, I literally met him in the park and he was playing guitar, and we've been friends ever since. And he is a full-time director. He directs commercials basically for a living. He's also an actor, and we acted in a movie together that is now on HBO. And so it's just like, it's kind of crazy how that, again, it's like this family, like we all know each other. And I feel like people might know me as like that gringa that does second assistant directing in some feature films sometimes. Right. And I'm cool with that. I'm honestly, I'm just so honored to be a part of the film industry in DR that I wouldn't change it for a thing. Like, having been in a movie, having worked in the assistant directing department for commercials in DR, I worked on 4 feature films in DR. To me, that's been such a growing learning experience for me, and it has also helped with my own productions, being able to take what I've learned working in a major crew with a substantial budget or whatever it is, and seeing how that works and applying that to my small independent productions.
That's dope. That's dope. What was the name of that film on HBO?
Oh, it's called Un Cuarto de Josué. So it's UN, mm-hmm. and then 420. Wait, what am I saying? 4TO.
Uh-huh.
And then space D. Well, there's a space before the 4 too. But anyways, okay. DE
mm-hmm.
space Josue, JOSUE.
Okay, bet.
Yeah, it wasn't produced through HBO. It was produced through the film company owned by Gabriel Valencia, who's the director, and Dulcita Liegi, who was the star and the screenwriter for the movie. But they have it streaming on HBO Go now, which is crazy.
Check you out over there getting famous and stuff in DR.
No. It was a supporting role anyways, but it was so much fun. Like, honestly, making that movie, like, again, we're like a family. That was like one of the funnest times ever creating that movie.
Now since then, you've developed a sort of a very eclectic body of work, from from writing to directing to producing. You mentioned educator, and you've gotten a numerous amount of recognition. City of Boston 2019 Artist Fellow, which is so dope. I had my chest all out. I was super excited for you. The WBUR's Artery with Millennials of Color Impacting Boston Arts and Culture. Now that in looking back, and I'm sure you're just scratching the surface and you're really starting to get going on your journey, but looking back over the past, we'll say 11 years from the time you graduated till today, what has been sort of the thing that you're proud of the most so far, to where you're just like, man, I really did that, and wait until they see what's next? Because I feel like a lot of us, again, going back to this panic and patience aspect of it, right? Like, we have so much in us, particularly when we're younger, because a lot of us are fearless, right? As soon as you realize you have that talent or that gift or that ability, you just start writing. You just start creating, right? And then once you put your stuff out there, then you start hitting walls, right? You start getting criticism, you start getting opinions, you start getting perspectives that weren't necessarily what you walked into the project with. Now that you had, over a decade of experience, when you look back at your work, what is something that you stand out where you're just like, okay, was a defining moment. I'm going to use this as a sort of a catapult to get me to the next thing, because the next thing is going to be better because of those experiences. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I probably have to get better at this, but I'm not the best at at these kinds of questions, like, oh, like, I know I'm so proud of myself. Like, it's weird. I feel like I can be proud of something, but it's weird for me to say I'm proud of myself. But maybe alone in the comfort of my own home, I might come across moments where I say to myself, wow, you really have been doing this for a decade, even though it's not, I don't need 100,000 people or 1 million people to know that. But I feel like even just the community of people that know my work here in Boston, or people in DR, or just even friends and family and colleagues, like, to me, that I have moments where I'm just like, wow, that's pretty nice. That's pretty awesome that I could do the thing that I said I wanted to do. That's nice. So I feel like, to answer the question of what I'm most proud of, I think it's very, again, even just, it is true, like, right, I've been kind of doing this for a decade. But I feel like I'm still just on the very cusp of trying to get to where I'm, I hope that I can get, in terms of not even, and honestly, I've come to the point where I'm just I don't measure my success in views or notoriety, or how many people, or how, or fame or something like that. I think that when I was little, for sure, I was like, I want to be famous, but I don't even think about that so much as thinking about how nice it would be to get to a point where I'm completely financially viable, and not only like able to pay my bills like I'm doing now, but also able to finance my stuff in a way that's like fruitful. So being able to have like a big budget production, that is kind of still my dream, whether it means that I get to show my work on Netflix or HBO, or it just means finding the right funding to be able to do something even independently, just that has a decent budget that I can pay the people that are working, not just honorariums, which is basically what I do now, which I'm happy that I'm able to do, but to actually give people like full on payments for their work, be all like, kind of like level up.
Yeah.
So, so I feel that the thing I'm most proud of, I think, is just kind of not giving up. I think that the thing that I can say about myself is that I kind of keep pushing, that I still keep pushing, that, you know, creating the Pineapple Diaries was an idea that became a reality, and season 2 and season 3, all of these things I think came through pushing, and with the people that do the project with me, thank God for their support and encouragement and their participation in the show, the actors, everyone. Like, so I'm proud of the fact that even when it gets hard financially, which it definitely does, that I've always chosen to keep going.
Yes, I love that. I love
yeah and I still feel that way even with all of this. You know, I think that there's no other way. This is the only thing I'm good at. So this is the only thing I'm good at, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep trying to you know, do my best to keep staying you know, creative and kind of like, and appreciate that. Like, sometimes I think to myself, like, how grateful I am that I have something to do that I look forward to doing. Like, right. Whether it's filming Pineapple Diaries or doing an event with Pineapple Diaries, or filming a movie in the Dominican Republic, even on crew in the directing department, editing Pineapple Diaries, like the things that I do, I feel really like I look forward to them. And I feel that that is such a gift all on its own, just to be excited about the shit that I'm doing.
Oh, that's everyone's goal, is to be happy in what they do, right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I think that the Band-Aid for happiness is paychecks for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like, I'm not happy, but I'm able to get this amount of money, right? Yeah. Versus the real goal is to be happy, and whatever comes after that is a bonus.
Yes,
you know, it is a bonus. And so it sounds like that's really where you're at right now, which I admire, because I feel like that there's a lot of folks that are striving for that same feeling day to day, to wake up knowing that they're walking in their purpose, they're following their passion, and that they're happy in between the time that you woke up in the middle of the night at 12 a.m., 1 in the morning with an idea about a character or a storyline, to the point where you're having the watch party 3, 4, 6 months after. Like that to be happy in between those, that I think is the goal. And so I guess my next question is, tell us, for those who don't know, what is Pineapple Diaries, and why is that so special to you?
So the Pineapple Diaries is a comedic web series that I created in 2015. The web series just follows the life of 4 Dominican-American women living in Jamaica Plain and Boston. Mm-hmm. And, you know, my original goal was just to have a show that felt like more of a authentic to me, because everyone has a different version of authenticity. So authentic to my life experience, what Dominican women look like. You know, Dominican women don't all look like me, especially since I'm biracial, etc. So and that there are some of us out there, you know, the biracial Latinx community. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I kind of just wanted to piece together what is actually around me, what my cousins look like, what my group of girlfriends look like here in Boston and DR, and create a show that had female protagonists, and they were all Dominican American, and they were all of different shades and hair textures, as we really are in the real world. And I think that was my main goal at first, was something that I hadn't seen before, a show that could be like just about stupid shit, like just about like everyday absurd like little instances, and that women, Dominican American women, just happen to be the ones telling that story, and it be just as universal as any other show, like any other show that people like whatever, Seinfeld, any other show where there's a bunch of white people, and you know, this country assumes that white stories are the universal stories, and that, you know, Dominican stories have to be in a box, or Black stories have to be in a box, or any other Latinx community has to be in a box, Asian American. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way. And now we're seeing more of that. But when I was in high school and in college, that wasn't the case. The universal funny stuff was with white people. And then the niche stuff was given, you know, was tunneled towards us specifically. And my thing is, there's a way I also believe that I wanted to create a show that was universal, but that was still unapologetically Dominican. Like, I can put in these Dominicanisms and these things that I relate with, things that are part of our family histories, part of our stories, part of our culture, part of our day to day. And people don't need to be afraid to put that stuff in. There's no need to whitewash your stuff in order for it to be universal. Because again, what you're doing is believing that your audience is white, or believing that the gaze of your show has to be white all the time. And I didn't want that at all. I didn't care who was watching, but I knew that if I'm going to make a show that is unapologetically Dominican and also universal and about just silly everyday stuff, everyone can watch it. Everyone can watch it. And there's nothing that I need to tweak in order to appeal to the white gaze. It's not what I'm interested in.
One of the things that you in one of the interviews that you did, talking about Pineapple Diaries, you said that the characters are the people that I know. Tell me a little bit about that, because you talk about stories and how the stories are universal, because it's human beings that happen to be Dominican that are telling these stories. Right. But the people that you know, tell me a little bit about where that came from and why you chose that sort of lens to look out of in creating your characters.
Yeah, well, I've been really blessed in my life to have amazing girlfriends. I mean, all over. I have, again, an amazing group of girlfriends in DR. I have an amazing group of girlfriends here in Boston. And just that kind of experience of like, what do you talk about with your girlfriends? What experiences do you share? I mean, there's stuff that you go through that you share with your girlfriends, breakups, starting families, getting married, career stuff, dealing with even just like the daily stresses of adulting and emerging into adulthood. You know, these are experiences that I experience along with my group of girlfriends. And so that's kind of what inspired the show, basically. And, you know, a lot of the stories come from either a conversation I actually had with a friend, or a joke that came to my head because of an actual thing that I saw or an experience that I had. And then some of the stories are personal to me, and some of the stories are inspired by family stories, et cetera, et cetera. So kind of just putting all of that together to kind of, instead of, I mean, obviously it's fiction, so nothing will take away from that. This is fiction. These are fictional characters. Things can be embellished. Things can be twisted and turned for drama. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fun. Like, we're not doing that. Right. We're creating fiction. But the idea is, instead of forcing it, instead of putting out there a vision or a version of Latinidad that people should understand or will accept, instead of that, just put it out as it is. You know, put it out as it is. And for instance, my character is biracial. I don't make a big to-do about it. My mother's white in the show. My father is Afro-Dominicano in the show. And that's the way that it is. And so to me, it's like that. I feel like that's what I was trying to do, is just like put these characters, let them be themselves, put them on screen.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. The aspect of where we are from the political climate to, you know, the public health pandemic that's happening right now. How important is it for creatives, particularly creatives of color, to be unapologetic about the content that they're creating now, that we have a semi-captive audience, right? Because, you know, there seems to be, outside of the news, right, and outside of what's happening in the world from a health perspective, you know, we have a captive audience where people are at home. They are consuming content at levels that are unprecedented because of what's happening in the world. Right. You mentioned a minute ago, put it out there. You know, just put it out there. You know, you're sort of exposing your life experiences unapologetically. And, you know, I feel like that has been a challenge for a lot of creatives because of potential pushback of what that actually means in revealing themselves. Like, another example is Issa Rae, right? Mm-hmm. and Insecure, and her quirkiness and like all those different things that sort of made her unique. I feel like there should be more of that. You know what I mean? And Pineapple Diaries has some elements of that just just rawness. It's quirky. It's funny. I love, you know, in the first episode, the last scene when y'all are in the car and everything seems to be happening at once. I thought that was hilarious. But that's real for a lot of people, not just you and your friends, but situations and scenarios like that are real. And it wasn't polished necessarily, but I don't think it had to be. And I think that creating content doesn't have to be polished. And I feel like that's, to me as a consumer, what I feel is missing for a lot of dope people that I admire their work, but I feel like they're hesitant on being unpolished and raw and just putting out content that speaks to who they are, not who they think people see them. You know what I mean? And so how important is it for you, or how do you think, how important is it for creatives to actually create content right now, not necessarily 2 years from now, but right in this moment? How important is it, do you think?
Well, you know, I have two ways of answering this question, so I'll go both ways. One is I always feel like if you're inclined to create something, if you have a story, if you have something that you're excited about, then you shouldn't let anything stop you. And that, you know, obviously that you know, common thing that people say is like that, you know, there's nothing better than now, or whatever it is. What is the saying? Like,
no better time than now.
No better time than now. Why wait for tomorrow when you can do it today, kind of thing.
Right.
That's my school of thought. I do believe in that. But I also feel like there's this pressure for people. For instance, right now, season 3 of Pineapple Diaries is up. I know that I'm going to try to do my best to promote it and put it out there. But at the end of the day, what am I going to say? Like, if I see that I don't get as many views as one might hope or whatever this season, I'm gonna feel like a failure. It's like I don't want to go down that road in terms of like, gosh, if no one's watching the show now, they'll never watch it. Yeah. It's like home all day. But you know, you try your best. I think my other answer to it is I am excited right now to do certain things. I have a live show on Instagram. I just finished editing the season 3 of Pineapple Diaries, which was basically every day, week by week thing since November. So I have been editing the season since November, and I edit the show by myself. And so I feel like it gave me something to do, and I was excited about it. But if there are artists out there that feel this pressure to put stuff out now because there's more people to watch it, I feel like if you don't feel it, don't do it. In the sense that my thing is, if you don't feel it, and this is the way I feel, like, you know, because I always listen to my intuition. I feel like I try to stick to my guns with certain things. Like, I don't do things that don't feel natural to me. I never do. And it's hard for me to, I mean, I definitely like to try new things, but for the most part, I won't go and do things because I'm hoping it goes viral, or I'm hoping this, you know, not necessarily. I hope people enjoy the stuff I put out, that, yes. And if things go viral, that's awesome. But to kind of put this pressure on myself to really make it online right now, I think is a lot. And there's some artists that are like, I don't even have anything I'm inspired to do right now. I just want to take a nap, and I want to cook and knit, and I want to chill. And I think that that's fine. I think that people need to take care of themselves right now. So that's how I feel about that. And I think that in terms of everything, that's based on pandemic. You know, I understand we're all going through trauma right now. Everyone is experiencing this in a different way. And so no one's to say like, oh, you know, now's the time, you know, you're not doing shit, so you better be, you know, get on your productivity and stuff. And some people are like, I don't want to be productive. So I hear that. But then the other thing is, in general, you know, I think that the Pineapple Diaries is a low budget web series, and it's, you know, we have enough of a budget to offer the actors honorariums. We feed the crew, and it's an ambitious project. I mean, we have like 25 episodes per season. So, and we film all over the city. So we're not just filming, we're not able to like put all of our money on buying the most expensive camera and the most expensive sound equipment, and then we're filming every episode in front of a wall we have 5 episodes. You know, we have 25 episodes. We have, you know, 8 main characters in the show. We're filming in restaurants all over Boston. We're filming in the streets. We're filming everywhere. And that's kind of like, that's the thing that makes the show fun for us to create, and hopefully fun for people to watch. But in doing so, you know, people should understand that the budget is going towards all of those production costs. And we're still using a DSLR camera. We have the boom mic that I was able to afford on on online, the BH, you know what it is.
BHC, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was able to rent lavaliers for only a little bit of time, because renting lavaliers is very expensive. So we do what we can with what we have, and that's it. And I don't apologize for it. I feel like I'm not gonna wait until I get cinematic level production value in order to create something that I think people can enjoy. And I also believe that YouTube is such a forgiving platform. People know what they're getting.
Absolutely.
They know that, you know, we had you know, we just received from the artist fellow, I received a grant that I used half of it to allocate honorariums to the cast and the directors of photography. But before that, we had about $6,000 to do season 3. That's what we had at our disposal before getting the grant from the city of Boston. So, you know, we do what we can with what we have. And like, to me, it again, it would be so nice to get to that cinematic level. I mean, Insecure looks the way it looks because, well, obviously Insecure is fabulous and amazing because of the people that are doing it and creating it, and they were always going to be amazing, whether they had $5 or millions of dollars on HBO. But you can tell that, you know, Issa Rae had a fabulous show on YouTube that was low production value, and it did not take away from her fabulous writing, from her hilarious jokes, her characters. The world she created was just spectacular, and you can tell that her show online did not look like Insecure. So what I would tell artists is, let yourself create with what you have, and then hopefully in the future you'll be given what you deserve, which Issa Rae deserves all of the budget in the world to be creating Insecure. I'm so standing on this season. I love this season right now. I love Insecure so much. The Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl has definitely inspired my creating of a web series, because I see how she used YouTube as a network. It became like a chance for real.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to do this too. And I think that if I hadn't been a huge fan of Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl, I wouldn't have even thought that this is a possibility. Like, instead of me waiting for an agent and a manager and high production value budget, why don't I take what I have with the stories that I have, see if I can get people to hop on board with me, and let's just create. Because if you wait around, if Issa Rae was waiting around, that's really hard to say, for HBO, and she decided she wasn't going to produce anything until she got HBO level, honey, like, maybe no one would have seen all of her wonderful work, and no one would have said, you know what,
we would have missed out.
Yeah, we would have missed out, and maybe Insecure wouldn't have happened. So, you know, you look at it like that, and again, whether it was low production value or not, her show on YouTube was highly entertaining.
I love that. And I think that's why I'm so proud of what you're doing and what you've done, because I think that not waiting for the big break and making it yourself until whenever that happens, but in the meanwhile, I'm gonna put this work in. you know, while the universe is working to put me in a position to maybe be on HBO, Showtime, or whatever network, you know, I'm creating content that speaks to who I am, and to the people that I love, the community that I love, the culture that I love, and whatever is gonna happen is gonna happen, you know, and I think that's dope.
You said it beautifully. You said it beautifully, and that's exactly how I feel about it. Like, doing something that I love in the meantime, and just letting the universe, whatever it wants to do. And in the meantime, instead of, I'm gonna be happy working on everything I'm working on, and that's gonna be my real goal. Is like, am I gonna put my all into this, and am I gonna put 100%, and am I gonna enjoy it, and am I gonna make friends along the way and learn from it, learn from the process? Those are things that are what I approach projects looking into. That made no sense. That sentence was wrong, but you know what I meant.
No, I got you. And so my last question for you, and I asked this to a lot of my creative friends and people that I admire. In one word, what is art to you?
I'm gonna say joy, I'm gonna say joy, because I think that even, I know you said just one word, but I figured I'd just
No, go
explain.
ahead. Elaborate.
I
Elaborate.
ramble. I know I do this, but I'm gonna make this quick. Sometimes art is sad. Sometimes it's expressing something that's very dark, and sometimes it's expressing something that's very true and sad and deep within us and all of these things. But even that connection that you feel from the art that you watch, a song that you listen to that makes you cry, a show that you watch, or even a documentary that is in it, on its own, an art, but telling you a true story, and you're kind of like falling into all of these stories that are, not your own stories, but you still connect. I feel that is joy. This connection that you get from watching something that you connect with, or something that made you feel something, like making you feel something. And the existence of art in our world is joy, even when it's sad. And I think it's connecting us. Maybe connecting is a better word than joy.
Yeah.
I'll say connecting. Art is connecting. It's connecting us. It's allowing us to see worlds outside of our own. In a way that is extraordinary. So I'm an artist, and I love writing and I love creating, but I am a consumer of art. I live it, breathe it every single day. I love falling into stories, television series. I love listening to stories in podcasts. I love reading stories. I love hearing stories in music. I love where music takes me when I'm listening to it, all of that. I am just a lover of art, and I don't know what this world would be like without it.
Yes. And I know I said it was the last question, but I have one more for you.
I'm ready.
What would the 2020 Paloma tell the 2009 Paloma?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I would tell her anything different, because I feel like she had to go through the journey the way that she went on the journey. I might have some personal things to say to her, like don't give him the time of day. Those personal things. But on a career level, I feel like, if anything, I would just say, stop with the timelines, bitch. Like, stop. Like, stop with the damn timelines. Stop with your, I want to be here by 21. I want to be here by 22. I want to be here by 25. I want this by then. I want that by then. Stop. At least. Because I think that, again, she was going to go through on this journey on her own to get to this point now where she's just finding joy in, finding joy in the successes she feels now. Why am I talking about myself in third person? So when I feel like, when I kind of come to the term that, like, success for an artist, as the world sees it, is once you get on the cover of a magazine, once you get your movie multi-million dollars, and your movies, and all of these things, and those are wonderful successes that I think that if they drive you, like, go for it, because I think that that's a beautiful thing, and we should dream big, and I dream big. But by dreaming big, it doesn't mean that whatever I'm doing now that might seem small isn't going to be a big deal to me, and isn't going to be something that I'm going to cherish and enjoy and appreciate. So I think that I needed to be that timeline girl that needed the big stuff in order to get to this point where I'm just like, wait a second, I'm actually just doing what I love. Like, hello, I don't have all the money, and I don't have Cardi B money or Cardi B fame, but who's to say that? I mean, who's to say that that's the only thing that an artist needs in order to be happy with what they're doing or feel successful?
So
I always mention Cardi B, so it had to happen. I love Cardi B so much.
P, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy to have this time and to rock with you. Thank you so much for, like, entertaining me on this conversation. I'm always rooting for you, clapping loud, chest out, and super proud. Keep pushing, keep doing what you do, because there are a lot of people who need your work, who need your spirit to uplift theirs. And I think that is beyond any amount of money, any amount of fame, what you do day to day, and how you embrace these people, these characters, these communities, in a way that speaks to the human spirit is special. I just want to encourage you to keep going.
Oh, Jay, you're gonna make me cry. Like, I'm a mess right now. I'm very emotional. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, I feel like I cry on my live show. I cry on all these Zoom calls. Like, I'm just crying all the time. Honestly, Jay, your words mean so much. Your support has always meant so much. And it's sometimes you know, you just do what you do, and you don't realize, you don't necessarily see what other people see. And so to hear you say that stuff just means a lot to me. Don't make me cry on your show. You better edit this out. You better edit this out.
I love you, Pete.
Thank you
so much. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing your next project.
Thank you. And I just want to say I'm so proud of you for all the work that you do in your community. And not only that, but, you know, continuing to follow your dreams and having a family, which I was going to say, maybe some people can't relate with me because I don't have children. You know what I'm saying? So, but, you know, I'm so inspired by artists that have families and are still doing what they love. And it makes me believe that, you know, if God willing, I'm ever to have children, I want to keep doing what I love. And you inspire me. And I'm always so proud of you. You are a king. You're a king. You know it.
Thank you so much. Love. And you know, I look forward to talking to you soon.
Yes, me too.
All right.
Bye. Love you.
Bye. Love you too.